Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Recruitment Redefined, where we'll be digging into some modern tactics in travel healthcare talent acquisition. I'm Carly Miller from Track 5, and I will be your host today. First off, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We're thrilled to have you here and looking forward to an engaging and informative session. Before we get started with some introductions, I just wanted to go over some logistical details. This webinar is being recorded and will be available to all registrants afterward. We also have a live chat going, so we encourage you to participate in that. Please feel free to share where you're tuning in from, or if you have questions during the webinar, don't hesitate to type those in the chat. One of our awesome team members here at Track 5 is monitoring the chat and will be throwing those questions to us to cover at the end of the session. Now, I hope you're all pumped for this session because we have a fantastic lineup of guest speakers today who are pros in travel healthcare recruiting, and they're going to share some of their insider insights with us. Before we dive into those insider insights, I'd love to give each of our speakers an opportunity to introduce themselves and the companies they're working for. So I'll throw it over to Oliver Feekins first to give a little background on who we are at Track 5, and then we'll hop around to the rest of our panel.
Hey guys, Oliver Feekins from Track 5. We own Travel Nurse Source, Allied Travel Careers, Locum Jobs Online, and a bunch of other job boards. We just want to thank you guys for taking the moment out of your day to come and just share community with us, break bread, let us talk about the industry. We got some amazing recruiters here on the webinar, so we're really excited about that. And again, this is just about sharing opinion and just kind of bringing everyone together. And we're just a big fan of community. We're a big fan of that. Any of you guys are looking for, getting more placements, Travel Nurse Source, great option. Allied Travel Careers, great option. We've been doing this for 15 years, so only time I'm going to sell. But if you have interest in generating more placements, feel free to give us a call. Nora, who's on this call, will be happy to talk to you. And we do have quite a few clients on the call as well, so we want to thank you for being with us and letting us help you do your thing. So with that, I'll throw it back to Carly.
Great, thanks, Oliver. Shauna, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Shauna Nastasi. I'm with TRS Healthcare. I've been a recruiter for over 10 years in all facets of travel nursing. We're based out of Northwest Arkansas, and I'm just thankful to be here to help any advice and questions you guys have.
Hey, thanks, Shauna. Lindsay, you're next on my screen, so do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Lindsay Hernandez, and I am with Stability Healthcare. I have been a travel nurse recruiter for about 21 years, and then we are based we've got an Arizona office and a Los Angeles office.
Awesome. Jess, do you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Jess. I'm from Armed Staffing. I'm a nurse, and I'm also a senior nurse recruiter here. We're based out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I'm looking forward to hearing your questions.
All right. Jenny, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Jenny Filipowicz. I am a recruiter client manager at Unity Med, and we are based out of Omaha, Nebraska.
Great. And then Angela?
Hi, I'm Angela Lyons. I'm a GQR Healthcare. I have been working in healthcare for over 25 years, but recruiting for the past 10. I've been with GQR for about 4.5 years now, and I'm located out of the Austin office, and I'm a TL on the behavioral health team.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela. And thank you all so much for sharing a bit more about yourselves and your companies. We're really so excited to have you here again, and we can't wait to hear your perspectives and experiences in this industry. So let's jump right into these questions. We want to start off with a little bit of a feel-good question to dig a little deeper into what's really working for you in this niche industry. So we'd like to know, what recruitment strategies have proven most successful for you in the current market? What's working well for you right now? And whoever wants to start, you can just jump in. We'll build off of each other.
I'll go ahead. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Okay. I was going to say right now, I think building relationships more than ever has been something that we're needing, because it's not about the money just being there like it was during kind of our COVID days that we just came off of. So I think, these nurses and clinicians really want someone that is transparent, that they can trust, that's going to be there for them on their assignment. I think right now recruiters are their lifeline more than ever. So I think, that and then re-engaging have been huge. Like, you really have to re-engage people, keep reaching out. These nurses and clinicians in every 8 to 13 weeks. So really re-engaging over and over and trying to connect has been successful in us getting people to respond.
Yeah, I have to agree with Lindsay on that. Like, definitely the relationship aspect of it. You don't want to be cold and just want to pitch them jobs and try to get them somewhere. You want to be their friend. You want to be someone that they feel like they can call and, just talk to in general. And then, yeah, just trying to help people, maybe sometimes they don't realize what exactly they're looking for and just helping them find that ideal position.
Yeah, and I'll third that too. Same thing. I mean, we're all about trying to help our nurses achieve their something bigger, whatever that is, whatever that goal is. Is it their debt? The money's always going to be a thing, but that relationship piece is it's key. That's how you get referrals. That's how you just establish that good base of solid people. And just being consistent. You have to just be consistent. It's a grind.
That's what I was going to say too, is like basing your things off referrals and, just the engagement part, like understanding what they're going through. The ratios aren't the same as they used to be. The money's not the same. Everything's not the same as it used to be, even just a couple years ago. So just trying to understand, what they're going through as well.
One more thing I would touch on too for me would be speed to market right now is huge as far as success, right? So really making sure that you're on your game to get your candidate submitted the second a job opens, because especially the high paying ones are going on hold so quickly. So if you're not on top of it and it takes you too long to get that profile together, then you just unfortunately don't stand a chance sometimes at that job. So I think speed to market is really, really big right now.
Yeah, I really like that point, Lindsay. Angela, did you want to go? Sorry, I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what pretty much everybody else has said. I think, even 10 years ago, building those relationships was super important. So that really hasn't changed in recruitment over the years, but it's becoming more and more important to our nurses to know that you really care about what they're looking for. So making sure you dig in when you're talking to them and find out really what their pain points are and what they're looking for in their career overall is super important. And I think learning to adjust, like your communication techniques over the last years, like people love to text and phone calls, and like going through call lists was super important for outreach previously, whereas now you can re-engage people that might have been stagnant in your database by just shooting them a simple text, because people respond really quickly to that. I think, was it Jessica touched on referrals, like good people know good people. I think that's like a common saying everybody says in recruitment. So really pulling on the people that you've built those relationships, with and getting new candidates from them is super important as well.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to touch on both the pay piece and that relationship piece later. But right now, I'd like to talk about recruitment tech. So it's clear that technology has transformed recruitment and will continue to make its mark in this industry. So how are you currently leveraging technology to streamline your recruitment process?
I'll jump in. Honestly, anything and everything that you can technology-wise. I mean, not only your lead sources like Track5 and ATC, but like obviously like Facebook, Indeed, LinkedIn. I mean, anything that is at your hands, I would recommend definitely using it to find people.
We also have like internal systems where we can set up job matching based on what they're looking for. We can select their shift time. We can select their specialty if they only want to be a certain radius from a certain city. So utilizing that to help, that job matching and alert you right away when the job opens. So I think a lot of companies do have, some similar systems like that. So utilizing that. We also use job robotics to help pull in our jobs into the system so that it's not a manual process, because that would take ages. So really utilizing, whatever you can and, order to kind of speed things up is really how that technology helps too.
We use a technology called Sense, and it helps with texting and everything. And we have like text journeys that we do. We do the like 30-day engagements, the check-ins. We sometimes even have like competitions in our office to see who can make the most calls. And we have like ambition things up in our like TVs all over, showing like who can make the most calls, who did the most text today, who did the most text blasts. So kind of, upping the game to see what everyone can do and make it kind of like a competition these days. I know it sounds terrible, but it does work. People like a good competition, especially if there's rewards at the end as well.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say we use it a lot to format our resumes. Like our recruiters here have to build the packets and everything. And you talked about speed to market previously, and it's really cut down on formatting those resumes. We also use it for selling points. Like you can look up an area or a hospital and really add a personal touch to your candidates when you're talking to them about the cost of living in the area, or what's fun to do over there, or like the best places to live and things like that. You can get a lot from AI, and we use it every day.
We use AI as well for our resume parser that we have, so it does like pull in from their resume all of the information into the profile, so that the nurse or clinician isn't having to manually type it in, nor the recruiter. So we do have that where we utilize AI as well.
And we use Sense, and kind of like with you, Jenny and Jess, like we use the Sense, all their AI tools to help even develop messages. I like to really keep it personal myself too, because I like them to know that they're not just another nurse I'm talking to. They're somebody,
Yeah, I agree.
But job robotics too, we utilize that, and getting into the AI thing to read resumes. We're on board with that right now currently. So that's where it's going. Gotta love the technology.
Awesome.
We still do like automated like emails and things like that as well, but like, the personal touch is definitely the way to go. Because people want to feel like you're reaching out to them like directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oliver, I know you're passionate about tech, so do you have anything you want to add in there? I think you're muted.
There you go. We're on the same kick with the speed to market, right? But also we're using technology to help disseminate and to ingest the data points from our clients and make them all normal and clean. We work with over 100 agencies on the platform, and everyone calls something different. All their fields are different. Their ATSs are, for the most part, different. So even if they have the same ATS, they set them up differently. So it's really difficult to get all these different systems to talk to ours, and then to go back in. Same for the matching. So we use a lot of the machine learning and a lot of technology that learns and maps to help make sure that our data is good all the way through and back out, but also to help recommend your job to specific users, right? So, and we can follow their patterns or their signals to find out when they're looking for what and why. We can present better jobs to them and find what their motivators are and respond better to that. So I think that's going to be a mainstay in the industry as we move forward. A lot of the other tool sets that you guys work with will also or have also been including these as well. And I think with the interest of like machine learning and AI, it's just going to get more efficient, and we're going to get less junk, right? So yeah, it's very, very early on, and there's a lot of people throwing around like the AI words, like a lot of these tool sets, right, that maybe are using it or not using it. But it's the next 5 years as it evens itself out. I think it's going to be really cool. I did want to throw in, I see a question on the chat. I just want to throw it in there. Someone's asking a question about what your guys' thoughts are related to using TikTok or Instagram or non-traditional sites for sourcing candidates. Obviously, I'm biased, so I would like to have maybe some of you guys can jump into that. So let's start with TikTok, Instagram. That could be groups. It could be paid ads, like anything. So who's got a good TikTok antidote here?
We use TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and amongst the other things, but we try to stick with the trends. Our marketing team's awesome. We, like if there's a certain dance or certain thing, you'll post that like music thing, but like integrated into nursing or like allied personnel. So I think it works.
Yep. We do. We have certain recruiters that get on there and sell and pitch jobs.
Yeah.
And just really try to teach new travelers and just travelers in general, just how to be good travelers, how to go out there and be successful and represent your company well, represent yourself well, using those platforms for all those things.
Yes, I was gonna say same here too. Our marketing team is absolutely amazing. We do TikTok, Instagram. We try to put some fun stuff out there. Just recently, they had some of the recruiters here try to spell some of the professions that we work with to see if we knew how to spell what we work with. So, I mean, you got to make it fun, right? I mean, you want to engage people and want them to work with you. So having fun is sometimes the way to do it.
We also use all the above. I think most companies probably do. We have Zach Smith, who's our marketing director, is a nurse. And what his approach has been more of surveying them and asking them what they want to see and what content, and then trying to give them that. So that's been kind of awesome. Like, he created a calculator that's travel versus staff. So they can go in and put in numbers and compare the value of being a traveler versus perm staff. And that was all off of feedback and surveys that the nurses took. So it's kind of a different approach of asking them, what do you want? What do you need? And then trying to service that.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Like, we're talking about social in the aspect of promotion, right? But we're not really talking about social in the aspect of listening or gathering user feedback or focus grouping. And that's something I think we should not miss. Like, the groups in Facebook, there's a gazillion different nursing groups. Someone was just talking about there's a Facebook group for nurse jobs over $5,000 a week. Like, they haven't broken up by week type. Like, there's everything out there. And we often underestimate the recruiters, like the individual recruiters' brand power and like what they do as a brand, like a brand evangelist or a brand advocate for the company. So, the recruiters going out or the marketing team going out into these groups really does make a difference. It's extremely time consuming and it's hard to scale it, but it's super, super great at developing those deep relationships. Paid ads are different, right? So I can maybe speak to a little bit about that. Some of these, it's very easy to get leads off social. It's really hard to get quality leads off social. You can get them, they are there, but you're going to get a lot of other stuff in as well. So, that's the big thing. The targeting of lead gen on social, specifically Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, is difficult with the employment categories that set up requirements to where you cannot get in there and really advertise jobs without having less targeting ability. So you really have to have some advanced out of the box ways to go and do it. And there's some tricks of the trade there, but it's definitely an interesting mix. Social is less effective from a paid channel as it was like 3 or 4 years ago, but the organic side still holds true, is very effective, but it's just very, very time intensive, but good channel.
Yeah, I really loved your point, Lindsay. I think it speaks to that connection as well. What better way to connect with the candidates than to give them exactly what they're asking for? So I think that's great. Before we move on to our next question, I did want to ask another question we had in the chat, which is about those sources. So the question is, as a recruiter, what sets apart the sources you decide as a great fit or not? Basically, what do you look for when it comes to a platform and helping to make that decision?
I love a platform that has everything in it that I need. When I'm talking to that nurse, I can pull all the documents and I can just take the ball and run with it. So the more information that's there is better.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with Sean. If it's more of a one-stop shop, and even for the nurse, where they like a Vivian, where they can build their whole profile and you can transfer it into your system, then they're not having to go, complete 15 applications to have access, to work with all the agencies. So I think anything that's more of a one-stop shop makes it easier.
Yes.
Trying to make it easier so they're not doing like 15 skills checklist and 15 people resumes and stuff like that. Like, they don't want to do that. Like, the easier you can make it for someone, the better.
Yeah.
Agree. Awesome. All right. Well, we can't ask a tech question without also touching on the hottest trend on the market right now, which is AI. So thank you for opening up that conversation earlier, Angela. We know that personal touch and relationships are such a huge part of recruiting. So how do you balance that use of AI and automation while still maintaining that personal touch in your recruitment process?
I agree with what Shauna said earlier. Like, forward facing as a recruiter, I really don't use a lot of AI. I'm really into personal connection and using my notes and comments from my last conversation with someone to re-engage them so they remember me and know that I've spoken with them in the past. So really trying to customize my message. I think if they think I sound like a robot, or they think it's automated, or they think it's offshore is it's a lot more. Mm-hmm. And we're getting complaints about it. So I think really being personal and knowing they're not a number is what they want. So I don't use a lot forward facing. I feel like our AI is really back end.
Yeah, same.
We've been trying to use it for like the chatbots for like the website, like when someone applies and stuff like that. But this is new for us too. I think it's definitely the newer generation. So yeah, we're trying to integrate it, but the personal connection is still the number one way, I think.
Yep, I agree with everybody else too. You don't want them, like Lindsay said, you don't want them to feel like they're a number. And if they can tell that it's automated, it almost seems like you don't care. But it, again, like you guys said, it's the new thing.
Yeah, you have to make sure you add that personal touch into your emails, your text, or anything like that. I mean, we use it here, to help us out with our candidates, right? It's not the way that we just reach out to our candidates. It's while you're on the phone, a way to pull up, like I said, selling points and things like that to help you along in, that journey with your candidate and get them the right, location that they're looking for, or the right pay that they're looking for, the right hospital that they're looking for. It isn't like our main source of getting a candidate through the process.
Yeah, we've seen agencies use it in a way to your point, Angela, to make the process faster, but not to replace that human touch, right? So whether it be, parsing data, matching data, writing job descriptions, organizing data, prioritizing. But, at SIA last year, we were demoing a company that was essentially trying to create a, virtual recruiter that actually calls and has full conversations audible, all through AI, and would eventually hope, replace recruiters, so they say. But, to me, it seems like, how many times you guys spoke to a chatbot and you're speaking to a chatbot? Like, when is the last time you spoke to a chatbot and probably didn't know? Like, So, these people are all highly educated and, they're hard to get. So it just doesn't seem like your first impression should be to throw a piece of technology at someone in disguise as a human, relationship. So I'm big fan of AI for making things in the background go faster, but I don't think it will ever replace recruiting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think for sure too, we're getting better at identifying AI since it's been around for so long. So it's easier to tell when things are done with AI, which then makes it feel less personal. We have another great question in the chat about AI. So Brant wants to know, does AI help newer recruiters more than senior recruiters when they aren't sure what to say? What's your perspective on that?
It could give you talking points, like if you get stuck, or like, let's say you were trying to draft a email and put everything together and you wanted to sound, more well-spoken, I guess, on your email or something, you could use it. But I think even for a newer recruiter, you don't want to miss out on that human interaction with anybody. So you can't just rely on AI to do all of your messaging or outreach to your candidates, because you're really going to miss out, I think, on capturing, high quality candidates. You might find somebody that just wants that generic messaging, but if you want the true relationship building with your candidate, you're going to have to talk to them.
There is also a little bit of unpredictability with AI still in its early phase. There's been some cases that came up where people have been using it to automate job postings, for example, and it's put something discriminatory in the job postings and resulted in a mass lawsuit of some sort. So I think Chase did something like this. So it's just, you add too much automation, it can tend to run away from you. So you just want to make sure that you use it in a way that's controllable. But yeah. But I can see how the newer generation of recruiters and the younger recruiters, they grew up kind of running their homework through ChatGPT. So I can see how, maybe you're an English major, Carly. I hope you didn't. But, I think that, there's a propensity to want to do that, right? I don't know.
It's definitely more mainstream now for sure, especially in the younger generations. I'm seeing so many great questions in the chat, so please keep them coming. Some of them are a little bit unrelated to this specific discussion, so we'll hit on those at the end because they're really good and I want to get to them. But I really love everything you guys said about candidate connection. It's so important. This industry is all about that connection. So speaking of candidates, I'd like to talk about candidate expectations. So as recruiters, you all have the unique opportunity to get face-to-face with those healthcare candidates and learn what they really want and what really resonates with them. So what are the key factors nurses and travel therapists are looking for in job opportunities today? And what have been themes you've seen in your conversations with them?
I mean, post-COVID, everybody's looking for money, right? I mean, I think before COVID happened, you had people who truly wanted to go to places to cross those off their bucket list, and they truly wanted to travel. I think now, personally, I think you're seeing people who have heard how much money is in traveling, and they're wanting to travel but stay close to home. So it's just educating that, what traveling truly is.
I agree with, obviously money, that was going to be, for sure, top for most people. But I do think a lot more people are looking for local, because they're like, if the money isn't there, why am I going to duplicate my housing expense, and go out and have to, or they're looking at the value of, the contract, and then what is housing in that area. There's a more deep dive into that, right? Because if I have to go spend, 2 weeks of my paycheck on housing, then it's not worth it. So I think that's how people are choosing location as well. It's just kind of looking at the rate in relation to cost of living.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I'm having a lot of travelers decide to take internal because it's close to home, and basically they can't duplicate their living expenses. It's so expensive to go out and pay for your food and your gas and your housing, and then you got to still do it at home too. And so, justifying going across the country, it isn't there right now with the rates that we're seeing. So you just have to educate them on let's walk through it, slow down to speed up. Like, let's go through all this pay, everything, and make sure that lines up with your expectations after taxes, before taxes. Just knock down everything for, so they can make a good decision if it's right for them or not.
I think too, the other thing I'm seeing is a lot more people are asking me nurse to patient ratio, because these nurses are stretched so thin right now. And it's not even just high ratios, it's the lack of other support staff too. So again, I'm just seeing a lot more questions as far as, are there CNAs? Are there phlebotomists? I've even been asked a lot recently. What's the ratio? So I think that some of these people coming off, really busting their tails in COVID are wanting a good work environment. And it's not out there, unfortunately, at a lot of places. And so they want to be somewhere that's going to be traveler friendly, that's going to, give them fair assignments. So a lot of people are looking for our guidance on that. Where can you put me that I'm actually going to be happy?
That's really valuable.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of change too, just in our data, as far as what motivates people to click on certain types of jobs over different agencies. So obviously a couple of years ago during COVID, it was all pay related and location was secondary. I mean, location had a part to it, but extremely pay related. And now it is pay related, but a massive caveat in location, especially proximity, like the 1 to 2 hours kind of from the area. So we've actually had to redo a lot of our algorithms and matching to take that into account. Based on their previous history of what they're applying to. Some will travel, but for the most part, they're looking to kind of be to drive a little bit further than they usually would for the travel pay, but not have to have a second residence. So it is a different game than it was a year ago. And beyond just the obvious of it, it is a different talk track. It's a different strategy, different tactics, different expectations. So it is like learning how to walk again for a little bit.
I agree. You guys all nailed it. Like pay, location, lifestyle, schedule. I also think now, with the hospitals, also kind of putting even distance ranges. So they're not accepting travelers anymore or locals anymore. They're having the distance, and now it's okay, well, you can't just go local anymore. You have to be 50 miles or whatever it is. So it definitely makes it harder to find those nurses that just want the 50 miles or the under 50 miles. So, and with the rate differences too in the local versus travel as well. I think that's hard.
Great. We have a good question about local in the chat also. So Shabs asked, could you share strategies your teams use to attract more committed travelers focused on short-term assignments versus those looking for local or perm placements? I know you said local is kind of booming right now, so I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
I think every nurse kind of wants like a 4-week contract, which I feel like isn't that ideal anymore. I don't know if you guys are having those, but we're not having those too much. But everyone wants a short contract, a quick one, be done. But there's really not that many out there anymore. I mean, people are looking to fill the holes and kind of keep people and move them to staff. I don't know if that really answered the question, but
I agree with you, Jessica. We're not seeing a lot of the short, like 4-weekers either. And I think it's just also one way to educate clinicians, though, is if you're only booked for 4 weeks, you're only booked for 4 weeks. You don't have a job after that, right? So reminding them that in a market that is slower and it's hard to land that job in the first place, you have the stability of, being there 13 weeks, which is still only a couple months, right? So it is different talk tracks and getting them committed and to kind of understand where we're at in the market.
Yeah, and I know what we do with some of our locals, if the facility will take them as being local, we'll even offer, if you could do longer versus just doing a 4-week or a 13, could you do 26? Like, could you just do 6 months there and then you don't have to worry about looking for a job because the market is so tight. So offering up just some other like suggestions, I think, is real important too in the market. Those hospitals are getting smarter with their money. They're getting more strategic on how they're going to spend it and what they're going to spend it on. So, internal contracts right now in local perm, it's going to be something we've got to deal with. You just got to try to figure out what your nurse needs. What is the why behind the why?
So can I throw in an add-on question to that that's mildly related, but kind of? How are you guys battling, for example, competition from internal float pools and things like that for staff? Like for the ones that want that kind of local but want to be local, or even per diem, or what am I saying here? Flex type of assignments within the facilities. Because it's not a new thing, but it is much more aggressive post-COVID than it was in my opinion, pre-COVID. And a lot of the other job boards are battling your jobs against those same positions in a flex pool. And outpaying. So like, how does that change what you guys do now, or your talk tracks there?
I think trying to get them to go far enough for stipend, but still be close to home is one way, because they're usually going to net more with the stipend. But also we've seen a lot where these nurses come back, they sign on for these pools and then they change the rates on them. Hospitals are bringing them in at one rate and then changing it. We're seeing like a month later, and they're like, wait a minute, like, no, like, and they end up right back into travel. So I've also seen a lot that aren't getting the shifts. Nothing's guaranteed. So that is another thing, educating them. You could make yourself available for 5 shifts a week and get one, so they're not getting consistent income necessarily because so many people are signing up for that pool. So that's kind of what we're seeing.
Well, and making them realize too that the pay that they're getting paid is going to be a fully taxed rate. So whatever that is, if it's $80 an hour, you're taxed on $80 an hour. So you're not getting the non-tax break. So, and no insurance, like no benefits, like and they can cancel you at any time too. There's no, and I also tell mine, like, okay, that's your plan A. What's your plan B, C, and D? So we'll go for plan A first. We'll try it. But if that doesn't work, let's go out 50 more miles. Could you do that? And then you qualify. And then, just trying to really understand why they need to be that close and why they want to go internal when we could go 50 more miles or 30 more miles and get on the same, probably more pay, because they're not going to be taxed on $80 an hour. So just really breaking down the details of their offer, I think, is really important.
I try to tell them too, like, once you go staff, like, you have to wait a year again to go back there. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Just do the 13 weeks.
I was just going to say the same thing, Jessica. I was going to say, when you do internal, you're on with them. Whereas if you get there and you don't like it, at least a travel contract at 3 months, you can move on and go somewhere else after that if you really wanted to.
And you guys are right, it expands beyond just the 1 year at that one hospital. It's usually all their sister facilities too. If it's like you're at this one Wellstar campus, now you can't go to any of them for a year. So it's a roadblock.
Yeah. And I always tell them too, like, read that fine print, whatever it is you're signing. Like, if they're doing a sign-on bonus, anything like that, that's tempting you to do that for 2 years or whatever it is, a year, 13, whatever it is. Sometimes if you miss one shift, you don't get that money. You don't get that sign-on bonus, or you got to pay part of it back. So like, hey, this is what you want to do. Here are the things you need to be asking questions and kind of supporting them in their decision, but not trying to talk them out of it at the same time.
So how you guys ladies do a lot of like kind of reasoning with the candidates. How much do you prepare with your agencies for like negotiations and talk tracks and recruiting training as far as like handling these objections and getting them to kind of, like you said, Shauna, like have an ABCD, or talking about laying out the pay? Like how much is involved in training your recruiters, and is that something the recruiters in our industry need more of? Like in the age of, like you were saying it earlier, like Vivian, like everything kind of together, out it goes, right? And it was great during COVID, but now what we're finding is a lot of recruiters have to actually like recruit a lot more. There's more into it now, especially with the objections, and that's where we're seeing a lot of the newer recruiters have a little bit more trouble in holding their own. How much effort do you guys and your agencies put into kind of training those recruiters on how to handle those objection tactics?
I think it's a lot of sorry. I was gonna say, I think it's a lot of training on the fly. I mean, you obviously train them ahead of time and you let them know that, like, but you can't train for something. I mean, I've been in this industry for a while, and there's things that, I mean, I get asked and told, that I'm like, God, I've been doing this for a while, and this is the first time I've ever dealt with this. So you can kind of train them a little bit, but I think a lot of it is on the fly, or like trying to listen to, if you're sitting next to a new recruiter, try to listen to their call and, like try to help them as they're on the call. Like, okay, what are they asking you? Like, can I help you in any way?
Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of role plays here at GQR. I will say, like, we take a poll from all the recruiters of like crazy objections they've gotten, different scenarios they had, stuff that they've really struggled on calls with candidates. And we do, like on the fly, they have a little wheel that picks out the scenario so that they don't know and can't prepare ahead of time, to help them out with those kind of, tough calls with candidates. It's not a perfect science, of course, but it does help, because then you're throwing different things at them that they might not be used to. It's super helpful with newer recruiters, but we do it with, seasoned recruiters too, because everybody could use, help every once in a while,
We pull in like our team leads and senior people to do a little, like, it's almost like continuing education for recruiters, where we do little TED Talks where somebody who's really good at one thing will run an hour session or a half-hour session on something that we're seeing, consistently come up. And so, we all do things a little bit different. So, you'll take people and what their expertise in is and how they've, had success, and then share with everyone else. So, we sprinkle those in to keep, that education coming, because I agree with Jenny, you can't do it all free. I mean, of course we do the role playing, training them in the beginning, but there is so much on the fly and you can't cover every scenario. So
we do those too, like constant, like rinse and repeats. Like we just, we'll go over the same thing one week, and maybe like a couple weeks later, we'll do the same thing just as a refresher. And again, like even being in the industry for so long, you'll still get questions and you're like, where the heck did that come from? Like, how do I not know this? Or like, you know what I mean? So it's like, even just bouncing it off of other people, or, giving them an example, like, hey, this happened. This is how I handled it. This is how you should probably handle it. Or, examples like that, I think help too.
Yeah, I really love all of that. Just kind of encouraging each other and keeping each other fresh. Because like you said, Lindsay, you all have different ways of doing things, and you can all learn from each other and build off of each other. So that's awesome. I want to circle back to our original question, which was what nurses want. So obviously we're hearing that pay is a big factor for those travel candidates, and understandably so, especially in this economy. But addressing the elephant in the room that we talked about a little earlier, we know that those pay rates have declined since those high-paying COVID years. So given the pay rate changes post-COVID, how is your agency distinguishing itself to attract top talent? And what has changed with your recruitment process since those high-paying COVID years?
We've had our business development team go after more direct clients. They've been pretty successful at that. So that's helped, because having that direct relationship versus going through a third party is always going to, lead to typically more jobs, more placements. I also think we've changed to add in a lot more allied. We're seeing a lot higher pay at certain allied specialties, as well as just greater need, especially in therapy. So trying to really go after and target, where the needs are and filling what's out there.
Yeah, we're really focusing on allied, just that low hanging fruit, from lab techs to respiratory to imaging, just looking at everything to try to get those rates are pretty good for some of those allied positions. So it's good low hanging fruit. But I think too, just I just lost my train of thought. So moving on, whoever has the next question.
I was going to say, just from a recruiting standpoint, I don't think that you would change anything. I mean, you still want to be personable with them. You still want to be, their confidant, their friend. It's just, I think if anything, with the rates declining, it's meant that we need to be more educational with them and kind of be more transparent with them and explain things to them that, things that right when COVID, ended were amazing for everybody. But now we're hitting a spot where, we need to be the experts for them and let them know what we're seeing and be transparent a little bit more with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oliver threw a poll in the chat asking if we thought we were at the bottom of the pay rate decline yet. And it looks like we're split. Half of the people think that we're at the bottom and half think they're still going to go down. So what do you guys think? Do you think we've hit rock bottom, or do you think we've still got no?
I think it might go down a little bit more. It's still, I think it's pretty close. I think it's right there. And some of these hot spots that have these ridiculous pay packages, I always tell my nurse, you probably don't want to go there anyway because you're walking into a mess. So there's a reason it's paying $3,000 a week. And I guarantee you're going to be calling me after that first week complaining. So, yeah.
One of the best things that I heard too was one of the agencies was telling us, like, when you start to see jobs in like the VMSs and the MSP systems, like, just stay, like, where it just cannot get filled because it's so ridiculously low. That's when we hit the bottom, and we're starting to see a little bit of that, but not, I don't think enough. But I think to your point, we're close.
Yeah, I think we're close. I don't think we'll be anywhere where we were before COVID rates. But I don't see it. Yeah, I agree with Sean. I don't see it going much lower. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I hope not. That's why I tell my nurses, I'd pay you $1 million a week if I could, but it's just not there.
Yeah. I think that's the education piece too, right? I think sometimes they think it's us, the agency, and we're just taking this huge cut and the rates haven't really dropped. And it's like, no, we would love to pay you more and make our job easier to be selling a higher paying job. So
yeah.
And I agree. I think it's close as well. I don't think.
And I think too, it's one of those things where I've started, if you're comfortable enough talking about bill rates, and if your agency is okay with you talking about bill rates, sometimes I use that as a very good tool to, here's what this rate is that we can bill. And it's a pie, and everybody's getting a piece of that pie. You're getting a majority of the pie, but I need a paycheck, and so does everybody else that works here, we don't set the rate, the hospital sets the rate, but just try to educate them on what that looks like, and making them learn the math of it. So I don't do that with everybody, but there's particular ones that I'll talk about the rate just to educate them a little bit more.
It's so hard because you see the social media and you you read all the posts. It's like, their agency is taking this, blah blah blah. Oh my gosh, no,
not true.
I'm telling you, but this is not how it works.
No.
They just don't understand all the pieces that come out of that bill rate, right? Especially compliance costs. We're paying for all your compliance in clinic visits, and I think people just don't realize how expensive that is. And then the burden that you pay on each taxable dollar, they're paying a portion of their health insurance. They don't look at each individual. They look at the hourly only, so they don't think, okay, but then we're paying you travel money, and that's a piece. There's just all these things. Some agencies have different certification reimbursement. So it's every little thing that all has to come out of that one bill rate.
Yeah. Even on our end, we've had some angry LinkedIn messages from nurses about the rates, and I'm like, I don't control that. We have a good question about bill rates in the chat, though. So Veronica said, we have a large client that will not pay for the full initial week. How do you handle this with the nurse with the bill rates being so low? Not paying and billing for a solid week makes it very difficult to make the overall assignment work.
I think it depends on your agency. I know that I imagine that Veronica might be asking about kind of saying non-billable orientation hours potentially. That is something that I know. I've been with a couple different agencies, but we build that into our pay package. And so I'm never telling a nurse or a traveler, hey, you don't get, we have X amount of non-billable orientation, because they hear non-billable and they think I'm not getting paid.
Right.
So it's not something that I've ever brought up with someone, and I really hesitate to even tell them that there's non-billable. It's just something that's factored into your budget and try to make it work.
Yeah, that's how ours is too.
Yeah, Jenny,
Same.
Same, yeah.
No nurse is going to go to work without getting paid.
Mm-mm.
Bottom line, orientation or no orientation, like they need to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even if we have like modules and stuff like that they have to complete ahead of time, if there's a significant number, we build that into our pay package too and give them a bonus for doing it, because nobody wants to do them nowadays unless they're getting paid something.
Yep.
That's definitely a way these hospitals have saved money, because back when I first started doing this, they always did those on site, and now almost all of them are before.
Yeah. So shifting gears just a little bit here, Lindsay, I know you said that you've seen Allied is booming lately, and we had a question in the chat from Tiffany. Where do you guys feel you have had the most success finding truly interested Allied candidates?
So go ahead, Lindsay, and then I'll jump in after you.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've actually recruited for Allied for quite a while, and I kind of spoke to it a little bit earlier too. Anywhere you can, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't remember who it was, but someone brought up Facebook. Try to join as many Facebook groups as you possibly can. Anyone who's engaging on social media is someone who's truly interested. So I think that would be your best bet, is engaging with people on Facebook, LinkedIn, Indeed, anywhere and everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting through Indeed, Vivian, Blue Pipes. The hard part is it is hit or miss with who's qualified, but I'm finding that with almost every source right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't say that one is like, oh, these are all success, and then one is not. I mean, I think almost every site is getting hit right now with, folks applying that are not anywhere near a clinician, and then the next one you get is just perfect, perfect fit. So I think you're just going to see a mix with any source.
And of course, referrals too. I mean, I think like a lot of my ICU nurses send me respiratory nurses, and a lot of my OR nurses send me surge techs. And so I think it's just making sure you tell your professionals, like, hey, refer me anybody and everybody that you run into that might be interested in traveling. Give my name to everybody you talk to. If you're in the break room, just talk about me. It's fine as long as it's all good. And just the word of mouth is huge too. So just remind your nurses to talk about you.
I didn't used to do a lot of Allied, but I just started Allied. And when I started making some calls and actually talking to people, it was such a different vibe than talking to nurses. Because, it's not completely different, but it's a different vibe. And, they were actually more welcoming and, more everything. It was nice. It was a good little break there for a second, rather than getting hung up on,
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely referrals, everything that you can. Facebook.
Yeah. Oliver, I saw you unmuted. Did you want to add anything, or you're good?
Yeah, I was just going to echo the same thing. We've heard a lot of people going into therapy and allied, like it's a pretty big part of our business. And, just to answer the question, I know I said I wouldn't sell again, but we did just launch a direct app program in allied, which is doing very, very well. So tons of text, tons of imaging, if you guys need it, we got it. But what we have been hearing too is that, we just talked to an agency today that they're moving into therapy and allied, and even to locums. We're having some agencies that are jumping into dump their feet into the nurse practitioner / PA world, and on their way to full-blown locum agencies, because the bill rates are so much better over there. And that's a little bit more of a steeper learning curve than going into allied and the insurance costs and things like that. But we've seen a massive amount of people shifting into allied. But it does require a different mentality shift and a different retooling. You can't go in it thinking that you're doing, it's just nursing, but different. It's not. But I also want to just jump on the referral bandwagon, because when we were at Arm Staffing and we were going through some things there, I got to see how many nurses love Jessica. So it's she's tons of her. You're the most popular out of all the nurses. So yeah. So I saw the power of that. That was incredible. It was amazing to see. So it's just that old adage, good business leads to more good business, right? If you're, treating your nurses well, I mean, we got to physically see how the ripple effect of that that just good work continuing to branch out and do more good work, right? So it really does mean something. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a good question about referrals in the chat. Jordan asked, I find it hard to ask for referrals without sounding like a used car salesman. Any techniques you found most effective in asking for referrals?
Money.
So money, throw money their way. Like we have nurses that will just, they'll earn over $10,000 a year just by sending people over, but they usually refer good people. They're like, I'm not going to refer you crap, but I'll refer you the good people. I'm like, okay, that's great. But I think even if your company has like a competition on who can get in the most referrals, I've used that with my nurses sometimes. Even if we're not really having a competition, I'm like, hey, we're having a competition for referrals. Send me over who you got, and just kind of make light of it and not make it so car salesman-y, just like, hey, if I'm doing a good job, feel free to share my name around, because some people aren't sure, like, can I give them your name? Can I give them your number? Yes, absolutely. You can give them all things.
I think it's not always asking either. It's just reminding them. Like, I'll just, like, if someone tells me, okay, I've taken another assignment, it's just, okay, I just want to let you know you're still eligible for our $1,000 referral bonus. For some reason, a lot of the clinicians think that they're not eligible if they're not like actively working for you, which is like not the case. So I feel like just constantly reminding as many people as you can that 100% you can pass my info along and you're still eligible. It doesn't have to be, do you have someone for me right now, type of a conversation, then that helps.
Yeah.
And also like the platforms, like a lot of the, like us and other platforms and even like Great Recruiters and all those guys, we all have recruiter like kind of pages and like ranking systems, and we know from our internal analytics how heavily trafficked those are and how much time like nurses and therapists spend on there. And then we'll hear from therapists that they're nurses that or recruiters, I should say, that they're getting direct phone calls just off those pages. Like they want to see who has the most reviews. They're using it as social proof. So referrals for placements is one thing, but also getting recommendations and getting them on the sites, like putting a link on your email or directing them to like our recruiting page or Great Recruiters or whoever, Vivian, wherever, like that does pay dividends because it's a massively trafficked part of the site.
Yeah. Great. Well, thanks everybody. We're almost at 3 p.m. So I want to also get to some audience questions here at the end. So I'm going to ask one last question for you guys today. If you just want to give your shortest and sweetest responses to it. And it's kind of a fun one. I'm curious to see what you have to say. So the question is, what advice would you give to new recruiters entering the field of travel healthcare recruitment?
I love this question.
Part of me wants to say run, but the other part doesn't. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That was my first instinct too. Bad timing, but maybe come back another time. No, I think that, and I think I could speak from all of you guys that you guys know it's not a 9-to-5 job. Like nurses don't just work 9 to 5, they work night shift. They want to be contacted, after hours or be, for you to be available. It's not a race, it's a marathon. You need to learn the industry. You need to learn what ACLS is, what BLS is, what's required for this job and know how to get it. And I think, putting in the grit and doing the work is, how you're going to succeed. I'm sure you guys all can justify that. Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
It's definitely a grind for sure. Yeah. So I would say for me, it's being genuine, transparent, and under promise and over deliver. Don't promise something that you cannot give. And then playing the long game, right? Like we have the unique opportunity of, it's not permanent placements. We have the unique opportunity of every 8 to 13 weeks putting that candidate to work again. So being congratulatory when they get that assignment with the other agency, and just staying in touch, because if you're salty about it, they don't want to work with you again. Mm-hmm. If you're upset that they took the offer with the other agency, so be kind and be courteous and go get them the next time.
Yeah, someone once told me this is the hardest, easiest job you could probably ever find. And it is very true. You just have to stick with it. You have to, like Jessica said, it's not, like all of us said, it's not a 9 to 5. It's not an 8 to 5. You have to put in the work. Mm-hmm. You got to treat it like it's your own business, basically, in a sense. If you want to make money, you have to treat this like your own business and grind and grit.
Yeah. It is one of those jobs, you either love it or you hate it, but hopefully your love is more, or you wouldn't be sitting in the seat. And it's, you get out what you put in. If you work hard and grind it out every day, you're going to be successful. And if you have true, meaningful conversations with people and treat them like a person, you're going to reap the benefits of that.
And I think
the most common mistake that I've seen is that people do this, right? They start to have their success and they take their foot off the gas. And this is not an industry where you can take the foot off the gas, because these contracts, people can get let go, they can walk off contract, they can end contracts. So it's, yay, I'm doing well, I got to keep doing well. Like you got to keep your foot on the gas.
It's so hard though to get discouraged at times too, especially now, like it's just, you feel like you're at rock bottom, but the only way to get out of it is to just keep pushing and keep working hard, and hopefully things will get better.
And this market changes so often, you know what I mean? Like it's going to change again, probably in another, 6 to 8 months, where it's going to be doing something different, so being able to pivot and, just always be learning, and you'll be okay. You just got to keep doing it. If you love it, keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say to be genuine and true to yourself and to your candidates, and treat them how you would want to be treated. You're impacting their life professionally and personally and financially. So, make sure you're treating them how you would treat your mom, how you would treat your sister, how you would treat, anybody that's important to you in your life, because this is their, career that you're impacting. I think all of y'all pointed out, this is a really hard job. It's tough. And, right now, I think it's probably the toughest it's ever been, at least for me in the last 10 years. But I can honestly say, for me, this can be the hardest, but also the most rewarding job if you really put your mind to it, and that grit and that determination to be successful. Like I said, you're impacting people's lives, but you're also helping the community and clients and hospitals. Some days I get super frustrated, but we have this client in Virginia, just a quick example. I know we're running out of time, but it's children and adolescent, right? It's a children and adolescent facility, and it's the end of the line for these kids. There's no other place for them to go in Virginia, which is really tough. That's a tough sell for your nurses to ask them to go to this place with tough children. Overall, but we've been working with them for 3 years and filling these needs, and they still thank us on a monthly basis for helping us out with these kids. And the nurses that do go there do find it really rewarding to be able to have that kind of impact. So, it's not just careers for your nurses, but you're also helping out a facility or a community by filling those gaps where they really need them. So.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you all so much for sharing that advice. I'm sure that's so helpful for those new recruiters to hear. Obviously you guys are backed by so many years of experience. So thank you for sharing that. And then I just want to rapid fire through some audience questions, and then we'll wrap this thing up because I know we're almost done. So let's see. Noah asked, what is the best platform to source and find candidates?
All of them. Again, use all of them.
Yes. Good answer. I know we touched on that a little earlier. Next, Billy asked, do you find that you get more or better staff by phone calls or mass recruiting options such as texting or emails?
Both, yeah. I think you can cast a bigger net when you send out mass text, but I always the first conversation is going to be over the phone. We are going to talk. You're going to hear my voice. I'm going to hear yours, and we're going to have that connection. Because you can tell really quick by somebody's tone of voice and how they're acting, if they're engaged or not. So I think those calls are so important to always have.
People do like to text a lot, but
they do.
I'm hey, when can we talk? When can we,
just one call.
Schedule a call? I just need to talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone also asked about the personalization of those email blasts. They asked if the email blasts are no longer as effective and if they should be doing those more personalized emails.
I think more people respond to a text blast than email. I think if it looks generic too, so if it looks generic or generated, I don't think you're going to get as much response as if it's personal.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I kind of think one of the things I always tell myself too is that if I wouldn't answer the phone because I don't recognize the number, or I wouldn't read the email, or I wouldn't read the text because it comes across automatically on my phone and I'm I don't know this, you got to do whatever would catch your eye too. Like, what has someone done to get me to respond to a text or answer a phone call or return an email?
Yep. Well, thank you all so much. I think that's it for our audience questions. And just like that, the hour is already over. I have no idea how that already happened. So again, we want to extend a huge thank you to all of our speakers for sharing their time and expertise with us today. And also a big thank you to all of you in the audience for joining us. It means a lot. Be sure to check out the recording once it's available and stay tuned for more webinars with us because there will be more. If you're interested in learning more about Track 5, Allied Travel Careers, or Travel Nurse Source, please feel free to get in touch with Nora. Her info is here on the screen, and she'd love to chat more with you about what our platforms have to offer. Thank you all so much again, and we hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Track 5. Thank you, Carly.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, guys. Thank you.